All right. Well, just to get started, quarterback-wise, Heinrich has a pretty good ankle sprain, so we'll see if he can do anything tomorrow. Chuba came out of the game a little bit banged up. Hasn't played much, so he's a little bit banged up from getting hit. Jeff healthy, so we'll go through the week and probably come all the way up to game time in terms of who will play. So obviously each guy brings a little bit something different to the table, so we'll have sort of a pretty diverse plan and see who's able to go. But I won't be able to comment on Heinrich until after I see him tomorrow, if he can do anything at all. With regards to this week, obviously we're really excited to have a chance to go to Madison, Wisconsin, an iconic place, a place that I played at as a player. And, Coach Fickle does a great job as he's in year one. Both teams at 5-5, trying to obviously get a win this week on national TV. Great opportunity for our guys. Really excited for our guys. I've tried to be honest with you guys every week about how I really feel about the tape. I'll tell you. I thought defensively, and I thought many players on offense, that was by far our best game. I thought our offensive line, it was by far the best game on offense. And so I was proud of the guys, and I told them that. We never accept losing, obviously. But, to me, the process that we're trying to put in place is working for a lot of guys. And so the lessons for our team is, hey, you're probably not going to have 5 turnovers and win very many games, especially in the Big Ten. But to have 5 turnovers and lose by 3 says a lot. Just to have that game be close versus a talented Maryland team. We want to have fourth quarter shutouts. We can't give them the ball at the 25-yard line no matter how they got it and have a penalty and have a missed assignment that leads to a field goal. So there's a lot of lessons to be learned, but I was proud of the guys, and I'm excited to take them out there this week. They continue to fight each and every week, and more importantly, they get better. And so I'm proud of where we're headed, and with that, I'll see all the questions you guys have.
What do you think the largest issue is with your quarterback play? What can be fixed in the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think there's been several issues throughout the year, and so anytime that you have this, the number one is turnovers, right? I mean, like we have three-point games. I think in those 3-point games, I think we have 12 turnovers in those 3-point games. Check me if I'm wrong. I think 11 of them come out of the quarterback position. So to me, to turn the ball over, right? At the same time, a lot of those games were close because, Heinrich made great runs or, Jeff made some great runs against Minnesota. So a lot of good things happened from those guys. I'm one of those coaches that, I don't love to make like big, everything to me is very incremental. Like, hey, it was this here, it was this here. But certainly, I would be a fool not to sit here and tell you it's protecting the football. In the passing game, I think, obviously the first interception, I'll still feel like, the one with Jeff, Malachi gets tackled and we're running a double move. But I'd love to see our quarterbacks, as I talk to them, just be a little bit more intentional about. We can't keep throwing balls up, and we can't just throw balls up to a spot thinking the guy's going to be there. Like at the end of the day, you have to be intentional at quarterback. Like every ball you throw is a ball you want to throw, and we had twice where guys threw interceptions, kind of backing up and letting it rip, and that's not who we are. That's not who we should be, and so. There's always a yin and yang to it, obviously, like they're young players. I'm trying to guide them through it. We're trying to guide them through it at the same time, having expectations and standards for the way that we want to play. So what can be fixed in the next 2 weeks? I certainly think, Sam, that, we fixed kind of like the pocket ball security. Like, you go back 2 games ago, not the pocket, running the ball. Heinrich had 2 fumbles, and so we've certainly worked on that. We've certainly worked on the way we hold the football. This was interceptions this week. And, so what can we do? We just keep coaching. And I know that sounds trite, maybe, but like we just keep coaching, we just keep pushing, we just keep grinding, we just keep working, and hope that it just continues to come to fruition. Build on the good things and try to eliminate the bad things.
How do you get these guys to not think about it, though? I mean, 22 turnovers by the quarterbacks. It's got to be a mental side to it, too, now for those guys every time they're out there with the ball in their hands.
Yeah. I think the thing that you always try to get guys to do, and again, I show them lots of different things. I talk a lot about basketball, and I talk a lot about last week we showed them Kobe talking about as a rookie, shooting 5 air balls in the finals, Game 7, and then coming back the next year and making those shots. And I think the biggest thing is, when you're a basketball player, when you're Michael Jordan, when you're LeBron James, that's about the end of my extent of who's a great basketball player nowadays, but you don't go to take the last shot and think about how you're going to shoot. Like, you just shoot the way you shot 1,000 times. And to me, that's trusting your training, and that's really our process. Our process is practicing so much and working so much that we can trust our training. And so as you get late in the Big Ten year and you go through the Big Ten for the first time, and you start to experience these teams and things that they're doing, trusting the training that we're going to have, whether it's a read, whether it's a decision. So you look at 2 of the interceptions, 2 of them are backing up and just kind of throwing it. Another one's just, throwing it, to a spot, hoping that it's going to be completed. And those things just can't happen. But in terms of for the players, my job is to help them become great players. It's not, hey, don't throw interceptions. Is this what you're trained to do? Like, you've worked your whole life to get to this point. Like, what should you do in this moment? Like, hey, it's not there. I should reverse out. I should go make a play. Like, we want our guys to play free. And so, I'm not giving you great answers other than just, to me, it's always about trusting your training, going, Chubba comes down at the end. Chubba ran the scout cards last week. Chubba's, that's just part of, hey, put your third quarterback in. But I have a lot of confidence in Chubba. And if you go back to every answer you guys have ever asked me about him, I believe in the kid. I believe in Chubba, and he's kind of healthy now, and you saw him running. It's just, you put him out there. He hasn't had a ton of reps. He'll get some reps more this week. If he has to play, I'm sure he'll be ready to play. So I think it's that. I think it's trusting your training. I think it's time. I think it's time on task. A lot of these guys haven't played a ton of football. Jeff has, but Chubba hasn't played a ton. You think back, and I sat down with him yesterday. We kind of kicked it for a little bit and talked, and it was like, well, I played 2 games in 2020. I played a couple games in 2021. I started 2 games last year. I played a half. I think a quarterback, you got to play. I think you have to play and play and play and get comfortable, get in a rhythm. So there's a lot of things. I always start with myself. What am I not doing right? I'm the head coach. Everything that happens here, I'm responsible for. You look at that game, a lot of things are the same thing over and over again. Like, we don't really get beat, but we do get beat on double moves in the secondary, right? So we sit there and you look at you look at a team and you're like, well, they don't do this. We're kind of a good defense, so we're going to get the same couple things. And so just challenging our staff, but really challenging myself, like, what are the things that needs to be fixed? I have not solved this issue in terms of the turnovers. And so I don't go in there and say, guys, we got 22 turnovers, we got to fix it. Like, they know that. I just say, hey, are we trusting our training? Is this the ball that you wanted thrown? Was this intentional, or was this just sort of like, oh, I don't know what to do? And if it is, just continue to give them those opportunities, those reps, and continue to work. That's as honest an answer as I can really give you, because I don't have the answer, if that makes sense. I'm working through it, but I believe in these guys. I want to make that very clear. I believe in these guys. I'm not one of those coaches who's like, man, we just need to no, these guys can play. They just have to continue to work and grind through this. And on the other end of it, like, to give you an example, I showed them the punt fake in the game, okay? And then I showed them the first time we practiced it in practice, the Tuesday before Michigan. And literally, Borgature and Snodgrass run into each other because each guys think, because we checked that play, right? And then I showed them in the game versus a look we've never practiced. And there's one extra guy there, Marco Ortiz. No one ever talks about the long snapper, man. He makes an unbelievable block. And Bullock and Ty Hahn and Elijah Judy, who's really wants to be a tight end, makes an unbelievable block. And Snodgrass comes around and picks up the extra guy. And I guess my point to them was, guys, I hate to say this, but everything takes time. And you have to just keep working. What sometimes happens at quarterback is because it's so visible, the weight of being the starting quarterback in Nebraska can sometimes weigh on you so much, you start searching for answers. And there are no answers. You got to just go back to work every week. It's this incremental, like, one better approach. And so I hope that we play really well this week. I hope that we solve the problem this week. But the only way to solve it is just to keep getting a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. I'll say one more thing, and this is going very long, so please forgive me, okay? But I showed our coaching staff a cut-up, and these are my friends. Ryan Day is a friend of mine. Justin Fry, the only coach at Ohio State, is a friend of mine. But, you asked me, Sam, you asked me a question a couple weeks ago about the reverse, the Michigan State, why we got 8 yards. They ran the exact same play. Ohio State ran the exact same play. And they made one more block than we made, and Marvis Harrison came around for a 22-yard touchdown. We ran a Y sail route into the boundary. They ran about 12 of the same type of concepts because we all have the same plays. And so my message to the coaching staff was, it's not the plays. It's not the application. I mean, you always want to call back here and there. It's the players and their confidence level and their execution level. And it's not like, hey, players, you got to make it right. It's actually just continuing to watch these guys grow. Like, look at Javen Wright. look at what reps is doing for him. This is a guy that was like, hey, should I even come back this year? Am I a corner? Am I a safety? What am I now? He's out there ripping balls out. So it'll all come together for the quarterbacks. We just love for it to happen right now.
You mentioned throwing to the spot and hoping the guys are there. On Chuba's interception, what needs to happen there?
Yeah.
What did happen and what needs to happen?
Yeah, so first of all, let me say this. I take responsibility for that, okay? I take responsibility for that. It's a good play call. So the play is very simply, it's a play that every team in the world runs. It's 3-man routes. It's double under with a corner route, right? And so basically versus man, the two guys run the under routes. They chase the under routes. You have a one-on-one corner. It's incomplete or. So, they zero blitz. It's 90 protection. There's a gap protection. Fedoni stays in. He's not going to get hit. And it's just a confluence of events, right? It's we take a long time coming out of it by number one. So a lot of people, I think, thought we were trying to throw the ball to number one. And because it looks like the ball's going to number one, it's Billy flattens that route out because the guy kind of undercuts him. And, really, we'd love to just see Chuba put that ball in the back corner and those guys get out of the way a little quicker. So it just wasn't quite executed exactly right, which, again, when it comes down to execution, it falls on me. And, their kid made two unbelievable plays. I mean, that corner made on a double move to beat the safety. He ran back and picked the ball off. And on that play, he's playing the guy man and comes off of it and picks off the in-cut. So when you look at the tape, it looks really, really bad. Let me just say that. It looks really, really bad, and I get that. And I'm not sitting here saying that for the players. The play clock was running down on us. Things were going fast. I think originally they wanted to run, Sat wanted to run a pick play by 1, 2, and 3. We kind of got up there to see what they're in because I didn't want to put Chubb in a bad position where all of a sudden it goes to zone. He's had no reps in any of these plays this week. And, that play happened. So I wouldn't put that on Chubb. I wouldn't put that on anybody but me. But that is what that play is. It's, we call it, it's Indy. It's old Peyton Manning, right? 2 unders with a corner route. First man, you throw the corner route. They just kind of got too close together. So that's one of those ones I wake up at 2 in the morning thinking about, hey, that's on me.
What's the Sims picture look like in practice compared to what you've seen on Saturdays?
I would say that we just in general, because I don't want to start talking about one guy. I would just say we don't throw these interceptions like this in practice the way we do in games, And again, sometimes I think when you run the ball a lot, when you finally have a chance to throw, you're maybe a little, you're not kind of maybe as in rhythm, and so. We certainly came out wanting to throw the ball a little bit more last game because we knew how they would play, and unfortunately, you throw the early, we hit him with a man beater, and we overthrow Emmett. That's going to be a big play. The one they threw the penalty on Billy, then pulled it off, and then we have Fedoni on the over route. If you see that play, Billy's running down the middle of the field wide open. So there's just a lot of things, a lot of different pictures for the guys. It's not a super complex offense. It's just, a lot of different pictures that guys aren't maybe seeing. But yeah, we certainly don't have those interceptions in practice the way we do in the games. I think sometimes in the games it's just a little bit of, like I said, like there's a little bit of pressure in our face. We're not sure where to go, and we kind of back up and throw it. And I just don't ever want a quarterback to not throw the ball intentionally. I'd rather our quarterbacks reverse out and go scramble and make a play. We got dynamic quarterbacks who can run. And if you're playing man coverage against us, man, our quarterback should be running for 200 yards against them. So, but again, those things aren't happening. You always go back, you look at practice, what can we do better? And we'll continue to do that this week.
Just one more on that last offensive sequence. How much of a say do you like to have in those moments as a head coach about what you're going to do?
Yeah, I'm not going to – everything falls on me. Like, we're not going to start being like, who's this, who's that. Like, no one's going to become divisive with us. Like, everything falls on me. It's just, to be on a headset, the ball's at the 5-yard line to try to run guys into the game. The clock was winding really fast that game. You're up against it. You have a new quarterback. You got to get in the huddle, get out. The last thing, all these things are kind of talked about ahead of time. So if it's wrong, it's on me. Let's just leave it at that. Like, it's just way easier that way. I have a say on everything. We don't run the fake punt without me doing it. We don't, I don't sit there and want to micromanage every play. But if it's a big play, we're going to do it. I also, can I be honest with you guys? I just kind of want our guys to play. How are we going to build a championship team if everything's to not make a mistake? So, if I could go back, would I have run the ball there? Yeah, then we kick a field goal, then they have the ball, they go down the field. We're also trying to play, and I want these guys to learn how to win. And so when I talk about process and all these things, I really mean it. mean, you turn a game on Saturdays, right? And like, after we get home, and those teams are scoring 45, they play, and they have some interceptions here, and they play. Like, I want our guys to play. I want it to be smart. Did we practice it? Did we rep it? We just didn't quite execute it 100% at the level we want. We put our third quarterback in, and I say third quarterback only out of because of the reps, put him in a tough position. All that falls on me. It doesn't fall on anybody else but me. So I take all that on with a grain of salt. But if I also and I believe this, if we just sit here and we just keep everything like really simple and just, we're never going to win at a high level. We're just going to learn to just be. So we're trying to be competitive, man. Like on defense, like Tony's at his best when he's bringing heat and we're going zero blitzes, and every once in a while we get beat, and we just got to play. Like, you know how I feel in my chest when we call the fake punt. I'm like, oh my gosh, is this going to work? But we got to go play and give the guys a chance. So, but everything falls on me, and I mean that with the greatest. But sometimes I walk up there like, hey, they're going to ask you this. Like everything falls on me, 100%. And I would just say that I believe that our guys are going to get better and better, and I wish we would have won that game on Saturday.
Have you ever been around a program where the players are kind of tentative about making mistakes to maybe disappoint the fan base?
I think all players until they kill the bear, they're all nervous about playing well. Like they're a young player, and eventually they kill that thing in their mind and they go play. I mean, I read them like if you ever read the book Hagakure, it says like, if the samurai, if you want to live, you have to die. Like you have to be dead to all those things to live. And so, again, we don't want to be. There's a big difference between making mistakes and doing things outside of your training. Does that make sense? Like I tell our players, like after the game, I had one of our really good players who no one's noticing right now, made a play that hurt us. He texted me. He's like, "I'm so sorry." I said, "Don't ever send me that stuff. Like, as long as you prepare and you get to the game and you're not selfish and you make it about your team and you go play hard, man. This is a game of mistakes. Things happen. Like, so we don't want to play in fear. And it's really hard at first for players to play for me because they hear me saying all the time, "Do things right, don't beat ourselves, execute." And at the same time, they also hear me like, "Be free, go play," and they can't get it. But when you become a good player, you get it. Right, like you want to take the last shot. You want the ball in your hands. You want it. I mean, Chuba. The shame of that thing was Chuba took us 90-some yards, right, to go win that game, and we're about that far away. So, yeah. I mean, I think it's just kind of in general. Our players care greatly. They desperately want to win. They desperately want to win for our fan base, for themselves, for the state, and that's all I can ask for.
When people are
critical of Marcus Satterfield, the offensive coordinator, what do you want them, fans or us or anyone, to consider when they put it on him specifically, both as a quarterback coach and as a coordinator?
Yeah, I think that's part of the fans should do that. I have no problem with that. Fans should be critical of me. Fans should be critical of Sat. Fans should be critical. Like, you come to the game and you sit there and you're like, okay. And for me to start, we got this many guys. That's not who I am, right? I think, okay, and I would say even within the coaching community, when people play us and they talk to us afterwards, I think in year one, with as many injuries as we've had and different things that have happened, we've never made an excuse. We've always showed up each week and we battle and we're in every game and we have a chance to be in every game. I think our guys are fighting their tails off. And, I never talk about changing a culture, but I do believe in instilling a culture. When you want to instill a mindset and a culture and a process, I think all of that's happening. And I think if people can't feel that, but if you say to yourself, like, hey, is this heading in the right direction? And, I got a true freshman, Jalen Lloyd, catching balls behind his hip. It's just going to continue to get better and better and better. So the answer in life sometimes is always just to change everything, right? Players want to transfer. Everybody wants their head coach to fire everybody. Like, has that worked out here? Where's that worked out? We're just firing assistant coaches and coordinators. So we want the whole offense to start over again with a whole new language next year. Like, I'm not doing that. It's ridiculous. So we're gonna just be exactly who I said we were gonna be. We're gonna be a day-by-day organization that gets better and better and better. We're gonna get through year one, okay? Most of our guys on offense are coming back. We'll get better and better and better. And then, some of you guys that get on the field before the game, you usually see me walking around the field. And a lot of times I walk with players. A lot of times I walk with hurt players, right? And I'm walking with like Ramir and Deshaun, and I'm like, Hey Gabe Irvin, just imagine you at 240 pounds coming down the stretch here in November next year. Marcus is fighting and scratching and punching and willing to get this thing as good as we can get it. That's what all the guys are doing. And, you know, I'm proud. I just couldn't tell you how proud I am of guys. Like Malcolm Hartzog didn't practice last week. And all of a sudden he's got to go from playing, then he comes in and practices on Friday a little bit, right? And then he's got to go from safety to corner. So he goes out in the game and they hit him on a big play, right? And man, like he's fighting for the team. What do we go yell at him? So yes, fans should absolutely, I'm not here saying that. I'm just saying for me, when it comes to me, I prefer to take all the heat for everything that happens because everything that happens here runs by me. And yeah, 5 turnovers falls, just so we're on the same page, it falls dead on my face. I can't, just trust me, if you guys know, I don't sleep very much to begin with. I lay in bed at night 5 turnovers? What are we talking about, Matt? But the answer is, what's the answer? The answer is just to keep getting a little bit better as best I can and hope that this week we put it all together.
This season's been a bit of a roller coaster in terms of you lose the first 2, then you win 2, blowout loss, you rattle off 3 in a row, and now losing 2 again. How have you seen the locker room kind of handle the ups and downs of this season?
I think they've just really grown. Take the Michigan game out of it, right? Because obviously that got away from us, and we talked a lot about that. We went out there on Sunday and practiced, but as I watch a lot of scores in the Big Ten West, as I watch the people, there's these wild shifts of hey, team wins 2 and then they lose by 21. Our guys are in every game. We battle in every game. I'm proud of the guys, the way they work. We've had injuries and other guys have stepped up and been ready to go. Guys change positions on the fly. It's like Ty Robinson said to me. I said to him yesterday, "Hey, you're gonna have the team ready to go?" He's like, "Coach." He's like, "One thing about Nebraskans." He's like, he's obviously from Arizona. He's like, "I don't care if you're from somewhere else. When you're here." He's like, you just keep going back to work and you just keep fighting. He's like, that's one thing you learn when you're here. He said the guys who can't figure that out, they got to go, and they've gone in the past. He's like, but we'll be ready to go. And so, I think they've just grown and they've handled it really well, and they've gotten to a point where I know each week. I now know each week when we go to the game, our guys are going to be ready to go. They're going to go fight. I couldn't say that early on. I couldn't say that week 1, week 2. It's still very emotional. Right now, they're just and so the way I look at things is the seeds of championships are built, are sown now, right? And so that might sound corny to people. I get all that, right? But they hit a long run on the last drive, and we blitzed from the left, and the D-line slanted into the blitz. They went the wrong way. That's why that play hit. And you look about, Cam Lenhart's a freshman. Imagine when he's a senior, he's out there. And if it's not him, imagine Ethan Nation. Imagine those guys when they're seniors, the lessons they're learning this year when they're preaching to those guys. It's just that as I've said 100 times, I want to win for the guys that are out there right now. And I want Reimer to go out on top. I want those guys to go out on top. But I don't worry about them. They are competitors and they're winners. And when I first got here, they were very much it's hard to win if the offense turns the ball. And now they're kind of hey, let's control what we can control. And what we've seen is I think we've seen some really good defensive football as a result because they have a pretty good mindset. And so as that melds over to the offense, eventually that way of playing offense, defense, special team all coming together, I think we'll have a pretty good team.
You mentioned the O-line playing well Saturday. How encouraged have you been by Justin Evans-Jenkins in particular, who's thrown in there as a freshman, and just how he's fit in?
I think he's done a great job. I think Justin's done a great job. He's really a center by trade, and so to go over and play guard, that's a whole challenge. You're facing all these 3-4 teams, bear teams, the guys right up on top of you. I thought Justin's been awesome. I think Teddy Prohaska's really, really hit his stride. Last game, because Nuri, we got Ben Scott playing on a hurt MCL. You got Nuri has surgery. They say 4 weeks. He comes back in a week and a half, and he's practicing. I'm so grateful for those guys. Ben Hart does a great job for us. And then Lutoski rotated in, every 2 series last game. So, I'm really pleased with that group and how hard they've worked to come back. The tight ends, Lindenmeyer is an unsung hero on this team. He just does all the dirty work. Borkacher played his best game, got hurt, and came back in and played on a sprained ankle. So I think, when I look at the overall offensive picture and scoring 10 points, having 5 turnovers, obviously I'm not a fool. I'm disappointed. When I look at the tape, I'm like, man, we're getting better. We're getting better. We're getting better. And just encouraging the guys to continue to do it. And I think Donnie does a great job in that room. And I think the players take tremendous accountability to do their job at a high level.
With Chuba being banged up, is that his existing injury or something?
No, I just got banged up from being in the game. Like, hadn't been hit in a while. So, I called him yesterday and was like, hey, stop by my office. And he's like, I'm in treatment. So, I obviously, for him to go in there and then, for that game to end the way it did, I just wanted to make sure I talked to him. And I always worry about the things I say in the press conference. I know, Sam, you asked me after the game, like, why'd you throw it on first down? And I was kind of caught because, we didn't throw it, but then I remembered he pulled it and threw it, so I just wanted to make sure he knew that, when those things happen, there's some accountability to him to know that play. Like, that play is a base play, day one, it's a handoff, but also for me, like, that means that we haven't done a good enough job of getting him enough reps, so I just want to make sure we're on the same page. But he's fine. I mean, he's fine. He's just, like I said, sore from getting hit at quarterback.
I did want to ask about the first interception of the game. Was that just a predetermined read that was made there?
Yeah, well, that's 4 verticals, and for us, we have different versions of it. A lot of times we'll say, hey, number 3 is, Fedoni is a really good matchup for us in man. So if it's man, hey, we're going to work Fedoni as kind of like the man beater, right? Kind of the way we did it in the NFL. Like, hey, number 3 is a good man beater for us. It played out like man, though it really kind of wasn't. It was free. It was kind of like a zone quarters that looked like man. So if we would have recognized it, the ball would have gone to Billy and he ran through. Also, if it's man, the post player should be in the middle. Post player jumped it. But at the end of the day, if you go to the end zone copy, Fedoni's still open. And again, just kind of pressure in his face. Heinrich kind of steps backwards. The thing I talk about Heinrich all the time is because people talk a lot about Heinrich's slow release, but really all it is the fact that the ball goes below his elbow as he brings it back. And there's a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL who do that, and they always struggle. A lot of them struggle in the NFL with the ability to be accurate because, you kind of have this whipping motion. I've talked to you guys about it before. So his feet always have to be right. So on that play, he doesn't step and throw because he has some pressure, kind of wings it, the ball is overthrown and intercepted. So obviously you have a big play possibility down the field to number 2. You have the man beater, which is open, and we got to throw and catch it. So when you talk to me, you talk about like, hey, Coach Satterfield or any of the coaches, I look at it like it's going to be really hard to run the ball into free safety pressures the entire game. We're going to have to be able to throw the football, and we called a play where guys were open. I expect our guys to go make the plays. When they don't, I don't sit there and say, hey, you guys aren't good enough. I say, hey, we're not doing enough. We got to keep practicing. So that's kind of the yin and the yang of the way my brain works, taking accountability, but also giving the players a chance to make a play. But I think when I said, hey, number 2 is run down the field, you nodded your head. I think you saw. So I think you guys, there's some things that are there. So. Was that Knight Rider? What was that? Yeah, I guess. So that's why I just would say, like, I hope over the years what you guys will see from me is that, like, I don't ever want to just take like a short, quick, easy answer. Like I was, like there's always all these different layers to everything, and I try to unpack them for myself and for everybody so that, like, hey, if all of a sudden that ball is 2 inches to the right because we stepped and thrown, it's a completion. If the ball's red down the middle of the field, it's a touch. But at the end of the day, it just takes reps because you practice against one thing, you get to the game, they have coaches too, they do different things, and you want players who are seasoned who can in a running offense throw the ball versus all the looks they get, and it just takes time. But that was kind of the thought process with that play.
19 of 44 Harburg is since Satterfield went to the box. Is there a relationship to that?
I don't think so. I really don't.
Hey, Matt, one of your former guys, Elijah Robinson, is in a big spot at Texas A&M as the interim head coach now. What do you think of him, and what can you say about what he's got in front of him?
Yeah, I didn't know that till Keith mentioned it to me on the way up. I was fired up. Like that's like he's like my blood. I love Elijah. I hired Elijah at Temple as to be the D-line coach. He was player development at Penn State and then got put on the field for a little bit. I did not know Elijah. Fran Brown, who's the DB coach at Georgia, recommended him to me. We hired his nickname's Rafi, so I keep wanting to call him Rafi, but I want to help him get the job, so I'm gonna call him Elijah. But you can't talk about someone who's better with people, an elite recruiter, tremendous man, great D-line coach. Was with me at Temple, went with me to Baylor, and then he just got too expensive. I couldn't keep him. He's a real he's had opportunity after opportunity. He's really loved A&M and wanted to stay there, and I think it's a great choice for them for the interim coach. I hope he gets consideration to be the head coach because people in college football know who he is. Sometimes there's those names, I've tried to hire him back. People have tried to hire him back. People have called me trying to convince him to come be their D coordinator. He's just an awesome person. And I don't really have a coaching tree. I haven't won enough games to have a coaching tree, but it's pretty cool for me to say, like, there's 2 coaches in Texas that were on my staff, both he and Joey McGuire. I think Elijah will do a great job. The players will play for him.
His situation, it kind of shines light on what's happening in college football this, starting this weekend. You've seen several moves made, and it's a crazy time. It's a crazy time. 1 year ago here, it's wild to think back of what was going on, a couple of weeks before you came in. Do you, at any point, have you and your wife, family, reflected on that and what that month of November was like for you, as you now have 12 months of perspective?
Honestly, I don't think we have much time to do that. That's not like, my wife's, Vivi's in volleyball and softball, and Leona's, we're kind of all around. But I just know we're grateful to Trev and the opportunity to be here, and grateful to be part of the community. It's been so good for our family. With the only caveat being that my son's not here. My son's still being in Charlotte's miserable. But it's been really cool. I bring Leona in on Sundays, and I walked out yesterday, and there's she's 8. There's posters all over the facility that she had drawn and taped up, and it was like, what did it say, Susan? It says poem, and she says, if people doubt how far you can go, keep going so that you can't hear them. I'm like, where did she learn that? But she's putting them up for the players. She's kind of been adopted, but so this has been awesome. When it comes to the coaching carousel, obviously I'm very sensitive to that, because while I was hired last year, I was also fired last year. I sometimes get sad at the vitriol when I see coaches getting yelled at and screamed at. It's like I can promise you there's not a coach in America right now that's not trying hard to win. So like why people are so hurtful. I mean, what's going to happen is going to happen. But to be like that is I don't understand. But with all that being said, this is competitive. This is a life we've chosen. This world to me is always like the mafia. You get hired, eventually you get whacked, and you live as much as you can in between. So, but for me, there's I got friends in coaching that are get jobs or don't get jobs, and I always think about the families. We have coaches on our staff that I think would be great head coaches. And one of the sad things for me in my career is that not many of my guys have gotten head coaching opportunities, and I just feel like the way we do things, the attention to detail, the way we care about our players, the way we recruit, would be really good for a lot of places. It really saddens me always that the 2 places I was at followed up with an outside hire, and I love those ADs. I just always wanted it to be one of my guys. So to see Joey doing well at Texas Tech warms my soul. To see Elijah get that opportunity, man, warms my soul, because there's 2 types of college football coaches. There's those who believe the players are there for them, and there's those who believe that they're there for the players. And Elijah knows he's there for the players, and Joey knows that he's there for the players, and that's what we believe here. So hopefully everyone hires the right people.
I want to ask about Wisconsin. What jumps out at you? What do they do well? I know they've been struggling lately, but what did they do well?
Well, they're a really good football team with really good players. Big, physical, raw, athletic, explosive. Luke Fickell's an excellent football coach. I don't know him great, but I know him well enough. We never really crossed paths I had left the American, but we've become friendly over time. Tanner Mordecai, I was probably his first offer. He was right down the street at Midway High School in Texas. He lived in the same 2 developments over from me. And I was the head coach at Baylor. I could never convince him to come play for us. Josh Martin, who's on our staff, was with him at SMU. Tanner's a winner. He's think about what we're talking about at quarterback. They have is a 6-year. He's a 6-year quarterback. Think about how much football he's played. So, I'm familiar with Coach Longo's system because I was, in the draft process with Sam Howell, with all the running backs, with all the wideouts, so just watching that offense, how dynamic and explosive it can be. Being at media day, seeing Braylon, how big he is at running back. I mean, it's going to be a heck of a game. Up in Madison, I went there one time as a player, and never been there as a coach. Cold, national TV, jump around, unbelievable experience. Coach Alvarez, it should be awesome. And so I'm excited about it. But they're an excellent football team, and it'll probably be a lot like these other games. Man, we'll come down the fourth quarter. We'll try to make one more play than them. They'll try to make one more play than us, and then we'll see who does it.
Is there a psychological element to that too? Wisconsin's won 9 games in a row in this series that you addressed.
Yeah, honestly, I honestly don't think about any of those things. Maybe maybe once I'm here, like let's say like after we go through this year, I'll always address like the previous year's games, but like none of that, before I wasn't here, so it's hard for me to address those things. I can tell when I talk to our players, there's certain games, they've played against year after year, where sometimes, you play Maryland, it's the third time playing them. But I think with us, just think about all the conversations we've had so far today, all the issues we have, good and bad, are all to do with us and to do with the way that we play. So that's really how I try to spend my time. But I do think it's great. I mean, this is an iconic place, college football. It's an iconic opportunity to be on NBC. It's NBC, right? Am I saying that? Yeah. And I don't really care too much about those things. Other than I care about how we play, but I just do think it is a cool opportunity, and I'd love to see our guys go play well, and we'll work our way to get ourselves there.
I just have a question, a little bit different off of football a little bit, but football. But Nebraska fans have been known for even cheering or applauding the opponents as they leave the field. There was an incident apparently this last game during halftime where a Husker fan spit on a Maryland player. I mean, how disappointing to hear something?
I would hate to comment. That's the first I've ever heard of that, so I'd hate to comment on that without knowing what would happen. I mean, my experience with Nebraska fans and Husker fans has been unbelievable. Like my wife walks home after the games. Like she doesn't even drive. She just walks. I mean, I know everyone wants to win, but all the Husker fans I think have been amazing. The way we are on the road, story after story, people have told me about coming here and the experiences that they've had. So I unfortunately don't know anything about that, and I certainly would hate that was true. But I would say I haven't met but great people since I've been here, and just glad to be part of the community. All right, y'all.